Hey guys, it's John at National Sports Entertainment. I know it's a little later than usual, but like I said, this week was a little different because I really wanted to see how specifically the Steelers game went. The Texans Colts game isn't really as indicative of how the other games are going to go, in my opinion, because the the Texans and Colts are basically interchangeable for each other. So, whereas the Steelers, they messed things up for a lot of teams if they had won or lost. So, they won like we thought. They covered, and we got the under, which is nice. The playing conditions were great. I thought they were going to give us that old school, tough nose kind of rivalry game, and it was kind of low. Although I guess for these teams, 35.5 isn't that low, but we wound up getting it. Last night, I had done my video before we finished out. I had explained because we had a bunch of early games, kind of like tomorrow, going into today. We did finish up yet. We finished yesterday up 3.5 though. I'll do our recap and then run through the football. I'm just gonna drop the whole thing on YouTube later, but I figured we can do our recap as we always do on here. The Grizzlies came through nice. That was a 3.5 unit profit on the day, and they profited us 3.5 on the day. We broke even completely. Pacific, I think that was the day before actually. I might be wrong, but we got the Knicks over, or the Knicks under. Missed Ryder, missed the Hawks, missed the Raptors, Hornets, got the Grizzlies. So mostly washed out. It completely washed out. Got the Nets, but the Grizzlies win gave us a 3.5 unit profit on the day because it was a 2 unit play. So a nice day. We finished up 3.5, and today we're looking good too. I almost want to just chalk this Arkansas Pine Bluff as a win, but there has been times where college teams have came out in the second half and scored over 100. It happened to me last year. I had Toledo going under because they always went over. It was set at like 160. They went into the half at like 58 points combined, and sure enough, without overtime, they wound up going over. Although I would say it's like one. It was 58. This one was also like 58, 59 points at the half. They would need well over 100 points for it to go over, but you never know. So we're not gonna crack the champagne on that yet. We are split. Actually, no. We got two of our three-leg twos. We did Dartmouth, which missed barely, but it did miss. But we did get Rutgers, so obviously they break even. We pick up 3 units because we got the Arkansas under, the Jacksonville under, and the Kent State under. 4 units, so 4 units total with Providence. Gardner-Webb knocks us down to 3 units, and Detroit knocks us down to 2 units. We got Georgia Southern, which is 3. And then we picked up 2 more with the under, which is 5, and 1 with the cover. So we're up 6 units, probably 7 if we count Arkansas Pine Bluff. We should finish in the positive today, but our biggest play is still kickoff probably just happened. So if we get this one, the Texans cover Colts, we're looking at plus 11 units. And then if everything else loses, we should still finish with a very nice day. And if we miss the Texans Colts, we're still in the profit. So really, we just want, we want to get the Hawaii cover, the Hawaii win. It's a pick'em, would be nice. Illinois State is in play. It was a 2-point game at halftime, so too early to call that. I feel like the pundits on the election, but it's the truth. Cincinnati, I made a leg 1. I think I went into it in my last video, but the reason I did is because they have a pretty good record. So, 9 points seems like it might be a trap. So I try and factor in. And the Rutgers play is exactly what I mean by this. I try and factor in not only teams that suck on an over-under, but the spreads themselves. So if a team sucks on the over-under, but it's set at like 122, then I'm not going to love it because the public's going to see the same thing. But when you see a team like Rutgers who's 20, 30% on the over, and they set it at 150, which is what you're setting it at for teams that go over frequently, it just seems like a trap. It's not always the case, but in this case it worked out. So I try and look at a bunch of things with the over-under. So anyway, Hawaii and the Texans are our biggest plays, of course, in action. So we still have Pacific. But like I said, I think either way we'll do good today and have a nice day. Now tomorrow, there's only one contingency game, really, because the rest of them, the matchups aren't going to change too much, too drastically. And some of them I'm just not sure on. Like there's the Bucks Saints. I admittedly could see all three of those teams getting in. I could see Atlanta making it a stupid story. I could see the Bucks and the Saints. I officially went with the Bucks, but as you can see, our first play, I got the Panthers covering them as a leg one. Just screams to me of a not a trap, but a game where, again, you're probably gonna have a lot of people on the Bucks, and it's a lower market game, so they might not care. They might pay out the public. Like, people keep telling me the Texans aren't gonna win because they're not gonna pay out the public. I think some games they just do. They can make their money back with props and over-unders. But I do like the Panthers for the cover here. I could see a win. It makes things interesting. And I could certainly see a Bucks win, no cover. So we're playing that for 1 unit. Bengals cover, that's 7.5 points. I mean, both teams are dealing with backups. So even if the Browns have all backups, it just makes no sense to me. So I really think the 7.5 is way too much. Public should be all over Cleveland, so I like Cincinnati. Vikings is a leg 2. And this is our I went into this in my video on YouTube. This is our contingency game. So if the Vikings do not win this game, I have a leg 3 set up with the goal, of course, we just need to win one of the two, because after leg 3, that's our last one, 4 units. But I don't think it's going to get to that, and I'll go into that in a second. But the Vikings winning makes so much sense. It makes that Bears-Packers game have way more stakes, and I just think it stands to reason. Now, you could have the Lions win and the Rams win, but the reason I'm playing this contingency is I'm playing basically the only way we don't get Rams-Lions is if my picks, these contingent picks don't hit, which I don't see happening. They're not going to give us Packers, Lions, and Rams, Eagles, or whatever it would be. I don't think that makes any sense. So I like that as a leg 2. Again, we're closing out our sequences, so not many open leg 3s. We got the Texans here plugged in. We can plug that in for our Dartmouth loss. Obviously, it's already plugged in. The game started, but my point is you could have plugged this in for anything. So we got the Falcons. Well, Patriots, I like them to cover. I think they're going to continue the Bill streak. Give the Jets a slightly better pick. Falcons cover, again, probably a close game. And I just think more people are going to be on the Saints. I admittedly don't know what's going on in the NFC South. Again, my preseason pick, not my preseason, but, well, actually, yeah, it was an 8-9 team winning the division, so that would be interesting. But they're so boring, I don't know. I just think the line's kind of trappish. That's why a lot of these are leg 1s. I put the leg 2 and leg 3s, obviously the ones I have way more conviction in. But I still like the Falcons for the cover. Titans, I think they'll cover the Jags. Again, Jags could win this game. It doesn't change really anything. It could change things if the Bills lose, but it doesn't really change anything as far as matchups, as far as seeding for the most part. It could maybe switch like one seed with another, but there's nothing drastic, so I could certainly see the Jags winning and getting in. I went into that how Jags almost make more sense than Pittsburgh. But I think there's some stories with Pittsburgh, so I think if nothing else, they'll have the Titans cover here. And if they're going to leave someone out in the cold, it makes more sense to Trevor than Josh Allen. But again, it's a leg 1, nothing crazy. Cardinals beat Seahawks. I like it. I just think it's a good way to finish the season with Kyler. And the Patriots would get a slightly better pick to be tied with the Cardinals. I think they would get the edge on them because in the mock drafts they have. And I think the Seahawks are just fizzling out. Packers, I like them for the cover. Again, this is another one I'm a little conflicted with. Because if the Vikings do win and the Bears win, that means the Vikings get in. I could see that. I think the Packers get in. And there's a matchup that I had a different matchup, but I think it's Scripted Sports is something, I don't know, there's like numbers at the end of it, but he posted on a comment that was really interesting regarding the Packers, and I'm going to go into it in a minute. But I think the Vikings win, make it interesting. Then the Packers will close it out and get in. I think the Chargers are going to cover, and again, 3.5 points. I get it. You're not going to have the Chiefs' big guys in. But I think this is, again, going to just be a statement game showing us the Chiefs are nothing without Mahomes. And even with that, it's not always enough. So to me, we're just going to see, I think, the Chargers cook, as they say. So I like that as a leg, too. So for the cover, Raiders, Broncos, almost didn't even play it. But I think, again, slightly more people might be on the Broncos. They have a little more juice, I feel like. So I like the Raiders for the cover. Giants, I like them to beat the Eagles because of aforementioned Scripted Sports' comments. He brought up the fact that if the Eagles lose and they do flip with Dallas, while it might not seem like a big deal, okay, they play the Packers, we'll have Love Hurts. And I can't resist a good pun. So in the city of brotherly love, as he pointed out. So, to me, they love these types of deals. It's also a weird line. I went into this before. I think Tommy DeVito's playing. He's a Jersey boy, so he's not in Philly this time. But I just think for some reason he's going to get a nice win against the Eagles. I had it a couple games ago where they were like plus 400 to win, so that might give a little bit away here. The Eagles should be playing with all their might, so I don't know why they're getting these odds. I don't know if Hurts is, no pun intended, hurt. I don't know what's going on, but I like the love Hurts angle. So yeah, I could see them playing each other, and I like the Giants to win now as a result of hearing that. Rams, it's simply a leg one. I don't love the matchup because either team could win and it won't matter. Except this disclaimer: only if the Vikings lose, it immediately jumps to a leg three. So we're not playing it as a leg two. We're playing this as a contingency leg three for 4 units. Only if the Vikings do not win, because if the Lions win, then a Niners win would indeed match up the Rams, and I think again, whoever I said, the Rams and the Eagles or something, and it's just two ugly matchups: the Packers and the Lions. Whereas we get the Lions Rams if and only if they both win or Detroit loses. So the only way we can get the matchup that I believe we're definitely scripted to get is if, again, we get the Vikings win, and if the Vikings don't win, the Rams have to win. So that's why it jumps to a leg 3 for 4 units, because I don't love the game without the Lions aspect. But if we do get the Vikings, this is simply a leg 1 unit. But if the Vikings don't win, we're going to go and make that a leg 3 for 4 units. So we're going to skip right to leg 3 on that. And we'll just plug it in for the Vikings loss, of course, because that's a leg 2. So that's if that happens. Cowboys cover. I think one of these NFC teams has to look really strong going into the playoffs, especially one that's probably not going to win the whole thing. Makes sense that the Cowboys just bully their way through there. Maybe bully their way into, first round. They just look amazing. Brock Purdy looks Well, I guess he's not going to be playing in the first round, but I think you get my point. I think they're really going to push up the Cowboys here, so this will probably be a casualty game. So that's for 2 units. Again, Bills doesn't change too much. I wish I could say I had 100% of a read on it. I think the matchups I put in my last video is what we're going to get, except I would now switch Dallas to play whoever it would be. I guess Dallas would play the Packers would play the Eagles, and the Rams would play the Lions, and Dallas would play the NFC South team, whoever the Bucks will say. So that would be the only switch as far as that goes. So again, I just think that's a nice narrative. So that's the reason I went ahead and decided that I think it makes sense for the Eagles to get upset, because I agree with scripted sports. So anyway, as far as the Bills, again, I could see them losing, but I think they're going to win. But it's only for 1 unit. Even if there's other, like the Texans game, the Titans game, they could affect this game, but it's not like the Lions Rams where it's clear cut. We need a particular path. Here, there's a lot of paths that could happen that make sense. So I'm not going to make it like a leg 2 or leg 3 if something else happens. I just feel like I don't think we're going to get Bills Dolphins again week 8 or wild card weekend, and I do believe we would get that if the Dolphins win. The Bills would get in as the 7 seed and the Dolphins would be a 2 seed. I just don't think that makes any sense at all. So outside of that, though, there's not much I can do as far as, there's a couple outcomes that could lead to that. So that's the best I can tell you, is if it's matched up where a Dolphins win's definitely going to make it where they play each other next week, then of course I like the Bills more, or the week after, then of course I like the Bills more, because I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to give us some fresh matchups for the playoffs. But not to belabor that point, I just use WWE booking, and it typically does pretty well for us. Broncos, Raiders, I like the over. These teams suck on the over, and it's set at 36.5. To put in perspective, the Jets, Patriots also suck on the over, set at 30.5. The Browns, Ravens was set at 34. So it's set pretty high for 2 teams that, in my opinion, suck just as bad as these other teams at scoring. So that's why I like it. Same with the Bucks, Panthers, 36.5 seems pretty high. And I saw this third one and immediately knew I had to make it a leg 3 for 4 units, because 42.5 is absurdly high for these 2 teams. And it's making me last minute think that the Saints are going to get that push. Because week 17 they said, oh, they're firing on all cylinders now. And they were just scoring at will. The Falcons can't really score. So I'm really wondering if they give us 2 weeks in a row of the Saints looking really good, really flashy, really cohesive. That way, when they match up against whoever it may be, uh, probably the Cowboys, based off my picks, it would. It looks like they have a chance. So seeing the over unders actually makes me think, okay, they're keeping the Panthers and Bucks basically where they've always been, just like this mediocre squad. Whereas the Saints look they might put on some fireworks for us. So I just think that over under is pretty high for again two teams that both suck on it. Saints are like 40%, Falcons are in the 30%. So that's going to be a leg 3 for 4 units. I looked at NBA. There's just nothing I love. I thought about playing the Hawks because you know how I feel about them. They are terrible against the spread, and anytime it's like a pick 'em with them, they're playing the Magic. I think I like them, so that's a little bit of alpha, I guess, if you want to play the Hawks. And that was really all that I saw that jumped off the page at me. I tried looking through college basketball, but again, we have like a dozen college basketball plays today because there were so many. They all play Saturday essentially. There's a couple games you'll get Sunday, but just not enough. There's not a lot of games. Oh, I'll tell you what. I don't know the over under yet, but if you're watching this, if you want a college basketball game, I do like the SMU over. I know they suck on the over, so whatever it's set at, it probably wouldn't hurt to play the SMU over. So there's a play, and yeah, that's really it. I looked through the other sports, and we have a lot of units in play anyway tomorrow. So yeah, there's no reason to rush a bunch of games. If I found some good metrics, I would have played them. Again, the Hawks look pretty enticing, but they've burned us a lot too. So I just figure, if you want to play a car sports parlay, something like Vikings, Hawks, and then the over on SMU might be a nice play. But officially, here's all of our plays. I just know some people like to play a couple different sports. There just wasn't much going today. Or tomorrow. But yeah, so today we should finish good. Like I said, we're up, I believe, 7 units now, unless Arkansas Pine Bluff somehow goes over, in which case we'd be up 5 units. And not too many in play. By the time this video is done, Illinois State is probably going to be done, that game. The others don't start till later tonight, and then the Texans are in play now. I have no idea what's going on. They could be down 14-0 for all I know. But if they come through, that'll be a very nice. Although I'm not going to lie, I've been waiting on a draw for a while now. And I swear if these two teams draw, which I could just feel it, I don't know, that would be pretty unfortunate. But I think we're going to get the cover. So, as I always say, take care, have happy earnings. And I'll have a recap out, as I always do. Like I said, tonight I figured I'd recap where we're at. We can't really finish. We could finish in the negative if we lose out, but it's just not likely. We're probably going to finish definitely in the positive, I would think. And then I wanted to just go into tomorrow's picks, get them out as early as I could, just because some of them are a little more abstract, like the Vikings game is completely a WWE booking game. So the Vikings and then Rams. Again, Rams will only become a leg 3 if the Vikings don't win. So tomorrow our only leg 3 is going to be the Falcons Saints over, because our other leg 3 is today with the Texans covering. And then the only way we get another leg 3 is if the Vikings lose, then the Rams will become a leg 3, which would be a very nice profit if we're able to get either one, honestly. The Vikings as a leg 2 at plus 150, or the Rams as a leg 3 at plus 170 would be nicer. But if we don't want to sweat it out, hopefully the Vikings just win it for us. So take care and happy earnings.